Caracas, January 3rd, by Nancy MacDonald Ladd. There is something simple that power forgets and clouds of smoke and the roar of rotor blades cannot conceal. There are people there. Wherever there is this morning on the front lines of every empire's effort to manifest dominion anew. Just people. Running on the sidewalk, panicked at the borders, cans of food and children toys rattling even now in the trunk of a car that for today, thank God, still starts. People there. In doorways and on freeways, praying for a place beyond the bombs, without ever knowing the plans of men with pens that write orders and suits worth more than that month's rent, and declarations that burst forth in fire when the children should be sleeping. Just people there. On this day, we pray strength unto them all, upon us all, to meet this day with courage and grief and remembering and reminding that over there, where they are, among them, there are only all of us. So it's become a terrible sort of routine when our country attacks another. There are things I do to prepare for worship. I send a Saturday afternoon text to our music leaders. Can we switch out the opening hymn so we can sing the one where we pray for peace for their land and for mine? I search for writing that helps me make sense and have something to say when my fear and my anger are not yet in the word-forming stage. I remind us to take care of ourselves, to hold fast to each other, to live our values in the midst of it all. And so we do it again. So come, let us gather. Come, let us take care of each other, hold fast to each other, take care of ourselves, and try to live with integrity. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. My name is Laura. I am a member of the Sunday Services Committee. Welcome to People's Church this morning. People's Church is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association and part of a long tradition of liberal religion. It seems every time that I'm Sunday Services person, I find myself looking for welcoming words in difficult times. You know what? I gave up on that this morning. So we're just going to say, hard things are easier in community. Thank you for being part of this community this morning.
A few announcements as we begin. Our mindfulness class that was scheduled to happen this afternoon has been canceled. And next Saturday is our monthly potluck and program. So we'll have a potluck at noon. It's open to all. Please bring something to share. Over the past 3 months, this has been a small group with rich conversation. So if you're looking for something to do next Saturday at noon, please come. And then at 1 p.m., we'll have our final session for a bit of our Inquirers series, which is our class for newcomers, newer members, people who want to learn more about the inner workings of the church. So this session is called From Visitor to Member, and we'll include information about what it means to be a member and opportunities to get more deeply involved in the life of the church now, and a chance to sign the bond of union, which is the thing that makes you officially a member of the church. So if you're new here, I encourage you to come. If you've been here for a while and want to get more involved and get to know others and be known by them, I encourage you to come. And you don't have to have come to any of the previous sessions or even know if you're ready for membership yet. It's just a chance for us all to get to know each other better. And then another note. So today I am preaching on the moral and ethical dilemma of when good people, or when people who've done bad things make art that's meaningful to us. And as part of that service, I will be naming some of the ways people have done bad things. I'm trying not to go into too many details, but if that's not what you need to think about today, I invite you to take care of yourself. And perhaps go and look outside a snowy window, or turn off the Zoom for a minute, or whatever it is that you need, because it's a lot to be in the world right now, and I don't want to add more burdens to what you are holding. Now I invite you to sing and get into whatever posture helps you sing your very best this morning as we sing a song for peace on this day.
This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine.
I'd like to invite Sophie up to light the chalice. If you're lighting a chalice at home, you're encouraged to type in the chat box, "A chalice is lit" in your neighborhood, city, or street. We light this chalice on the brink of a new year, letting go of what has been, open and hopeful for what may come, renewed, restored, ready to live life fully anew. May we move forward with intention.
In addition to our chalice flame burning here at People's Church, we have people joining us on Zoom today who have kindled chalices in the Millwood neighborhood, downtown, Oshtemo, Galesburg, on Munson Lake near Grand Junction, Parchment, Kalamazoo Township, Lawton, Hillsborough, Texas, and then Parkview Hills. What a gift it is that we can all be together in the same time, even when we are not all together in one place. I'd now like to invite the children forward for a story. Happy New Year, everybody. I am so glad you're here. Thank you.
This is my road.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. These stairs are getting pretty crowded, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
They are. So the story I have to share with you today is an old story from Japan. And it's a story that takes place in a Buddhist monastery. Now, this is a place where boys who are about your age would go and learn about religion and other things. So it was kind of like a religious community, but also like a school where the boys would live.
Except the girls couldn't go.
Yeah, the girls weren't there. That's right, girls were not allowed. So I know, it's not fair, but this is how this story goes. Just boys in this story. And one day, the head of the whole monastery gathered up all the boys and said, boys, our monastery, our school, the place that you live is running out of money. And so what I need you all to do is go to the big city and look for the fancy people who look like they have a lot of money, and then steal their purses or their wallets or their backpacks or whatever it seems like they might keep their money. But you have to make sure no one sees you when you do it, because we can't get a bad reputation as a bunch of thieves. No one can see you. So, what do you think the boys thought about that? Ollie?
So, do you want to hit monsters?
Yeah. And so the boys were really confused, and they said, but I thought you were teaching us how to be good people, and that includes not stealing things from people. And the wise teacher said, I know, that's not how you're supposed to act, but these are really desperate circumstances. We really need the money. So I need you to go and steal, but make sure no one is watching you when you do it. And so he sent the boys out, and but one of them stayed. And he said, but teacher, I will always be watching me. So there's no way I could steal anything without someone seeing me, because I always know what I do. And the teacher said, you passed the test. That's what I was trying to teach you. Now go run out and catch all of those other boys before they do anything bad.
Well, basically it was a test.
It was a test. And fortunately, the other boys hadn't gotten very far. They were just right outside saying, what are we supposed to do? This is not how we've been taught to behave. And so they didn't ever go and steal anything. But it really taught those boys that you are always watching your own self, right? And so you can't do anything with no one watching, because you are always going to know. And so it's important to act with care and kindness, even when no one else sees, because it's not even true that no one else sees. You will always see. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so by using such a strange lesson, those boys never forgot. Did you have something to say, Ren? Could you steal something with a blindfold on so you wouldn't see your own self? Is that what you're trying to make happen? But wouldn't you know, and so you'd kind of see?
Technically, you could.
Yeah.
If you had practiced the route like a million times.
Oh, an interesting loophole you guys are trying to figure out. Leia, do you have something to say?
Yeah. And when that comes, even if you had a mask, you wouldn't even be able to see what you're.
Right. If you had a mask, would you be able to physically steal something from someone? That's a really good question. What do you think?
I think if you had no idea and somebody was just leading you there, maybe you could steal without knowing, but then that other person would be watching you. So
These are some really interesting ethical dilemmas, right? If you had someone help you, maybe you wouldn't see, but then the other person would see, and so then it wouldn't count. Huh. Grace, do you have a final thought for us today? Grace says, maybe be a decent human being and don't steal. I think that's the moral of the story. Grace found it. And I like those of you who are working through the loopholes. And so I hope you can continue to do that in your classes today. I know many of you have specialty classes, and there's other good things happening today. So have so much fun, and remember that you are always watching yourself. So you should be kind. Go forth in peace. Hey, Teo, it's time to go. On your way, and may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go. Go forth in peace in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way. And may the joy of life around you wherever you may go. People's people are generous people. And I know that no one becomes part of a church or any religious community thinking, what I really want to do is get together with a few hundred other people and be an employer. But it is part of what this church does, and it is one of the ways that you most tangibly make your values real. So about a year ago, our church administrator brought something to the board's attention that our custodian, Keenan Mosba, who cleans up after all of us, was working enough hours that she was almost eligible to participate in the Unitarian Universalist Association retirement plan. So our church, for eligible employees, gives 10% of their salary or wages to a retirement, as a retirement contribution. It's really generous and great. And so the board was faced with the dilemma of, do we cap Keenan's hours right below that threshold and tell her not to work, even if we, might need the cleaning time? Or do we say, that she needs to work as much as she needs to work, and we can pay for her retirement or pay toward her retirement? And the board said, we're not going to be stingy about this. If we need to pay someone to clean up after us, we're not going to cap that. And so they didn't. And so as of 3-4 days ago, Keenan is eligible for the retirement plan. And it is a big deal. Most people whose job it is to clean up after other people don't receive that kind of benefit. And here, Keenan does. So it is a small fraction of our church budget that makes a big difference in her life and a big difference in how we live our values. Treating workers well here, and then it gives us the moral authority to be able to advocate for that beyond our walls. So thank you for your generosity. I invite you to continue to be the generous people that you are. The offering will now be received.
Please join me in giving thanks. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love, which none of us can accomplish alone.
People's Church is a community that supports one another. One of the ways we do this is we take time when we gather to lift up the joys and sorrows and milestones of our lives. So if you have something you wish to share with our community today, if you're with us on Zoom, I invite you to type it into the chat box. If you're here in person, I invite you to come forward. You can place a stone in our bowl of water, and if you choose to speak, please speak briefly and remember to tell us your name. I'm now placing a few more stones for the joy and the sorrow that we're holding quietly in our hearts today, the joy and sorrow in our wider community and our wider world. And from Catherine, thanks everyone for the love I have felt. I am improving. Sources of reason and radiance, sources of courage and compassion, keep watch with those who work or watch or weep this day. May the suffering be soothed. May the weary find rest. May the sick be tended. May the dying and those who love them find peace, and may the joyous be shielded. May all of us know that we are wrapped in a love that surrounds us always, a web that connects us to all that exists. Our words for meditation today are "It Matters" by Robert Walsh. I knew a man who had printed on his stationery this proverb: "Nothing is settled, everything matters." It established a certain ambiance for reading his letters, as if to say, what you are about to read is to be taken seriously, but it is not final. I remember him and his proverb sometimes, especially when it seems impossible to change the world or myself in any significant way. Times like the beginnings of New Year's. Sorry, Jim, I say. It's not true that nothing is settled. In the past year, choices have been made. Losses have been suffered. There has been growth and decay. There have been commitments and betrayals. None of that can be undone. A year ago, no one knew whether during this year one person would become pregnant, another would get cancer, another would take a new job, another would have an accident, but now it is settled. One day this year, I was present just when someone needed me. Another day, I was busy doing something else when I was needed. One day, I said something to a friend that injured our relationship. Another day, I said something that enabled a person to see life in a new way. The best and the worst of those days is now written. All my tears of joy or sorrow cannot erase it. If I stay with my meditation long enough, the reply comes. Robbie, says Jim, you have misunderstood the proverb. It is true that you cannot escape the consequences of your action or the chances of the world, but what is not settled is how the story turns out. What is not settled is what the meaning of your life will be. The meaning of a life is not contained within one act or one day or 1 year. As long as you are alive, the story of your life is still being told, the meaning is still open. And as long as there is life in the world, the story of the world is still being told. What is done, but nothing is settled. And if nothing is settled, then everything matters. Every choice, every act in the new year matters. Every word, every deed is making the meaning of your life and telling the story of the world. Everything matters in the year coming. And more importantly, everything matters today.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. We rest in this love.
Our first reading this morning is by Laurie Stone, quoted in I Like to Watch by Emily Nussbaum. On whether it is kosher to engage with the art of people you don't like, if you love something, you love it. If you find beauty somewhere others do not, you have found beauty. Nothing good is clean. Nothing interesting is pure. Beauty includes tension, contradiction that cannot be resolved, the comedy that life is complex and meaty and cellular and not transcendent. Our second reading is from How to Be Perfect by Michael Schur, incidentally my favorite book. Not that I follow it. Don't get excited. The conclusion of the book, spoiler, is no one is perfect, so you can read it and not feel too much pressure. How to Be Perfect by Michael Schur. The most important part of becoming better people is that we care about whether what we do is good or bad, and therefore we try to do the right thing. If we love a problematic person or thing too much to part with it altogether, I think that means that we have to keep two ideas in our head at the same time. Number one, I love this thing. Number two, the person who made it is troubling. Forgetting about number one means that we lose a piece of ourselves, and forgetting about number two means that we are denying that this thing that causes us and others anguish, and thus we're failing to show concern for the victims of awful behavior. We can think both of these things at the same time, and if we do, if we really confront the wrongs of the artists as we consume their work, instead of making excuses or living in denial, we can, to some degree, forgive ourselves for keeping them in our lives. In certain cases, we will find it impossible to continue enjoying the thing that we love. The artist will do something that we simply cannot abide, and it will prove so ugly and damning that we just cannot spend our time or money to support them, even in private. But in other cases, when something is so inexorably woven into our core identities that life without it feels unthinkable, maintaining those two ideas simultaneously can help us avoid the pain of severing all ties while still striving for self-improvement. But what does this mean, practically speaking, for us? How do we actually confront this problem day to day, person by person? Is it always enough to simply keep two conflicting ideas in our heads at the same time? How do we know when someone has crossed over from troubling to indefensible? This is the part of the question that doesn't have an answer, I think. Sometimes in philosophy, people throw around the word heuristic. A heuristic is a tool that allows us to input a problem and get a solution, a rule of thumb that gives us a guideline for our behavior. There's no heuristic to answer the question, can we separate the art from the artist? Or how do we deal with loved ones whose beliefs cause us pain? We can and should apply any of our moral theories to all these situations, but at some point, we just have to act, to choose. We will decide we have to banish this thing or person from our lives, but maybe not that one, based on nothing more than our reasoning and our guts. People who want to avoid this thorny issue like to say, well, where do you draw the line? As if merely pointing out its blurriness absolves us from trying to bring it into focus. But as the comedian John Oliver likes to say, somewhere. We draw it somewhere. You and I may draw it in different places, but we need to draw it, each of us, for ourselves.
Our next reading is The Poet I Wish I Was by Corinne Wood. And to understand the full context of this poem, it's important to know that the author of the poem was a member and leader of the Monacan Indian Nation, a native group whose ancestral lands are part of what we call Virginia. The Poet I Wish I Was. 1. A white poet whose work I admire said she feels most inspired on her daily 4-mile walks through a forest. 2. I wish I had time to walk 4 miles daily. I can usually manage 1 mile with dogs. My dogs are distractible, and they distract me. 3. The native poet I wish I was gets up early to walk dogs through a forest and comes home to her desk overlooking a lake. She spends half the day swimming with dogs, the other half reading and writing. Dogs are pleased. She is mostly inspired. 4. The poet I wish I was travels around like a famous Indian poet I know, reading and speaking and accepting awards. I don't care much about awards. I just want my poems to be better like his. That's a lie. Every poet wants all of the awards. 5. The famous native poet kept writing about his dead father. He said, he's made mostly of his dad, like water. It's a short poem. 6. The poet I wish I was spent her childhood walking through a forest because that's where Indians belong, right? She didn't spend her childhood wishing she could be a child whose father didn't leave, believing it was her fault, then seeking out men who would leave her. 7. I never wanted to be that famous Indian poet. I wanted to be his best friend or his older sister, the one who walked out of that drunken house fire in Montana, the sister who lived. 8. I wanted to be that poet's father, the one who didn't die of kidney failure, alcohol related, the Indian father who lived. 9. I wanted to be my own father, the one who didn't die of cirrhosis, alcohol related, the Indian father who lived. I wanted to be my own father so that he could still be alive. 10. How messed up is that? 11. The poet I wish I was is grateful to Indian fathers who stay alive, who work hard so their kids don't go hungry, who want to be better, like my brother, who is a good father. We all just want to be better. 12. My kids never went hungry. They ate canned corn and bologna for years. 13. Many of the poets I admire have leapt or fallen from the perches where I stuck them carefully like plastic Jesuses again and again. 14. However good we are, we can't change the beginning or the middle. We can only try to rewrite the end.
Dona nobis pacem pacem, dona nobis pacem, dona nobis pacem, dona nobis pacem,
Last month, my family was driving out into the country to chop down our Christmas tree at a tree farm. And to get into the spirit, we were listening to a Christmas playlist and heard the beautiful voice of one of the last century's best Christmas crooners. Is he a bad guy? My husband wondered to me. I don't know, I replied. Let's not look it up, we said almost in unison, wanting to preserve our pleasure in the music. And it's been a month. I still haven't looked it up. And I'm not telling any of you what the name of that person is because I don't want any of you to ruin it for me. A book appeared in the little free library in my yard. It was by a comedian that I thought was hilarious 15 years ago, and he has since taken a hateful, racist turn in his comedy and been accused of sexual assault. I didn't know what to do with that book. And when it was still in that little free library after a few days, I removed it and threw it in the garbage. This was last summer, and I still feel conflicted about that choice. My now 10-year-old went through a phase of loving to wear replica jerseys of his favorite professional athletes. And before every gift-giving holiday, he would make a list of the athletes he most admired, whose jerseys he wanted. And before I sent the list on to my sports-loving brother who really liked to buy these jerseys for a kid who likes sports as much as he does, I would open Wikipedia and look at the controversies section under each athlete's name. Read them and then decide if I wanted my kid to have that person's name on their body. And every time, a few of the names would be removed before I sent the list on to my brother, due to acts of violence or hateful speech. I just couldn't put that name on my kid. The Unitarian Universalist ministry is a small town. There are about 2,000 UU ministers. And like any small town, there's a whisper network. So I know stories about who acted in unethical ways in their congregations and ministries, stories that will likely never be made public. And I hold that knowledge in mind when I look through our hymnal or our online UU databases to create worship, selecting the music and readings that we lift up of being worthy of giving voice in our time together. And sometimes we use the words and music of people I know who have acted unethically. And sometimes we don't. And it's really about what it feels like in my gut at that moment, or if I can find something equally good created by someone else who maybe also acted unethically, but I haven't heard the rumors yet. And I imagine all of you have stories like this, right? Of how do you navigate something that's meaningful with a person who maybe acted in awful, awful ways. How do we navigate when people make art that is meaningful to us, but also cause harm to people in really real ways? Do you still watch the movie or read the book or look at the art or whatever it is, hear the song on the Christmas radio playlist? And now, a much older story from the first centuries of Christianity to remind us that the details might change, but this sort of challenge has existed for about as long as human communities have existed, I think. In the year 311, Christians in the land we now call Tunisia were under attack by the Roman Empire. And a Christian bishop handed over scriptures to the Roman authorities to be destroyed. And this was a long time before printing presses, so handing over your sacred books was a big deal. That was hundreds of hours of hand writing something out that would then be destroyed. And many others in that Christian community considered that bishop a traitor. And anything else he did, including ordaining other clergy or offering communion, was therefore impure. And so were the rituals of anyone that betraying bishop ordained, and so on down the line of apostolic succession. That sin was so bad it was inherited almost. And the people who opposed that traitorous bishop, or believed to be traitorous bishop, were called the Donatists. And their way of doing church prevailed in North Africa for several generations. They sought a morally pure church full of righteous people. And they were opposed by the emerging Catholic tradition that saw the church, including its leaders, as imperfect, and who trusted God would sort out the good from the bad later on, but everyone should be all together for now. And as you probably know by now, since there's not Donatist churches all over the place, the Catholics won this fight with the full force of the Roman Empire behind them. But the Donatists persisted in small pockets until the Muslim conquest of that area centuries later. And there is still a streak of that in a lot of Christian traditions and other religious traditions. If the religious leader acts unethically, can they still lead? Does their religious work and ritual still count, even if they have done some awful things? These are always hard dilemmas to navigate. What do we do with the art we love when the people who made it acted in ways that are harmful or contradict our values. I originally had planned to preach on this topic in March of 2020, late March of 2020. So we had a few other things come up between now and then. And I think having this in my mind for so long has helped me come to some heuristics, some tools for navigating these dilemmas that I wanted to offer to everyone today. The first heuristic is simply a gut check. Sometimes a piece of art has run its course in our lives, and we're not going to return to it because of what we know about the creator. I'm never going to watch The Cosby Show again. I used to love it. I was one of those kids who would turn it on in syndication and watch hours of it after school. And after allegations of sexual assault against Bill Cosby gained widespread attention, I can't even imagine watching it. And I can recognize that show was important to me and important to the wider culture. And it's done for me. I'm just not going back to that. I feel the same way about a Woody Allen movie I once loved. Watching it now just feels impossible now that I know that his daughter accused him of sexual abuse and he married his romantic partner's daughter after initiating a sexual relationship with her when she was a girl. So my gut just tells me I'm done. I feel revulsion at the idea of engaging with that art and some other art. And I can sometimes remember it fondly, but I'm not spending any more time with it. So this gut check heuristic means listening to your mind and your body and being gentle with your past self who loves something you can't bring yourself to engage with anymore. The next heuristic is the money check. So is my continuing to consume this piece of art somehow supporting the artist, either financially or in other ways? Earlier, Laura read from How to Be Perfect by Michael Schur, which she was too modest to say she recommended to me. And so it's kind of this beautiful bit of kismet that she, as the Sunday services person, was assigned this day, and I could give her back some stuff to read. And so Michael Schur wrote this book of moral philosophy, but he is best known as a comedy writer and a producer who's worked on some of my favorite shows of recent years, including The Office, Parks and Recreation, The Good Place, A Man on the Inside, and Hacks. And near the section Laura read, Schur writes about how he still owns the Woody Allen movie Annie Hall on DVD. And he watches it occasionally and recognizes that his life in comedy, his whole way of thinking about comedy, was shaped by Woody Allen. And watching that DVD feels okay to Schur because he's owned it for years, so Woody Allen doesn't get any money or power from him watching it in his living room. But he doesn't see Woody Allen movies or use his considerable power as a creator of comedy TV to excuse or celebrate Woody Allen. That's how he navigates that. That's where he draws the line. And most of us have significantly less power in the world of art and entertainment than Michael Schur, but I know people are still using a similar heuristic. J.K. Rowling, the creator of Harry Potter, uses her money and influence to attack and harm trans folks, especially in the United Kingdom where she lives. She's been behind some really awful, hurtful things. And this has led many to question their whole relationship with the Harry Potter enterprise, expanded universe, however you want to think about it. And this is a lot of kids' first experience with navigating this. What do you do when the person who created something you love is acting in ways that hurt people and is using some of the money and power and influence they gained from the creation of that important thing to hurt people? So some people have stopped reading Rowling altogether, but I know a lot of others who are committed to not giving Rowling any money. They are sharing books or buying them or borrowing them from the library or buying them used. At Halloween, they are finding used Gryffindor robes or creating their own costumes. And sometimes when it's not possible to find a desired bit of the Harry Potter universe in a way that doesn't give some money, families are donating money to trans-affirming organizations to offset the hate. It's not easy, and it's part of living with integrity to draw the line somewhere. The next heuristic is living in the contradiction. Meaningful art is made by people who've done terrible things. There's really no escaping that reality. And it is our faith that no one is defined by the worst thing they've ever done. And this includes everyone, even the famous people who've done really bad things. So sometimes the best we can do is simply hold it all. Yes, this is meaningful to me. Yes, it was created by someone who did bad things. And we keep finding the meaning and acknowledging the pain. We keep checking in with ourselves about it, living with the tension and contradiction that might never fully resolve, because so much of being with integrity, or being people of integrity, is living with the tension and the contradiction that doesn't fully resolve. There are some pieces of art like this for me that I hold on to, knowing that the creator acted in ways that contradict my values, and knowing that me not enjoying something that I love does not somehow make victims okay, right? Or undo the hatefulness. I wish I was that powerful, that my refusing to engage would change outcomes. Another important ethical principle for me to share with you as we navigate this is, as our youth sometimes say, not yucking someone's yum, right? So not ruining someone else's joy, which I realize I kind of have already done perhaps if I told you things you didn't know already today, but I'm sorry. As Laura read earlier, if you love something, you love it. If you find beauty somewhere others do not, you have found beauty. Nothing good is clean. Nothing interesting is pure. Beauty includes tension, contradiction that cannot be resolved. The comedy that life is complex and meaty and cellular and not transcendent. So if someone in my circle is finding joy in Harry Potter or the Cosby Show, for example, I want them to keep finding their joy. Joy is precious and fragile and too rare. And we need to find it where we can. And remember that others are just as capable as reading the controversies section on Wikipedia or wherever it is that you find out that someone is secretly awful, as we are. Maybe they are navigating moral dilemmas differently. Maybe they're donating money to act in opposition to the hateful thing the artist is doing. Maybe they just don't know yet. And most of the time, I'm not interested in taking away that joy and yucking the yum. Now, if someone has significant power and is publicly endorsing an awful person or a person who's done awful things, that's different. And if I have a close relationship and know that a person would want to know, I might say something, but I would give it a careful think first. Most of the time, if there's a show or art or music that brings us comfort in our living rooms at the end of a hard day, I want us all to have that more than I want to enforce some ideas or an abstract idea of moral purity. It's hard though, because I kind of want to be the know-it-all fact-checky person who tells them that, oh, you shouldn't enjoy that. At this point in the sermon, I really wanted to share with you a story about an artist who, when allegations surfaced or criminal charges filed or hateful speech was voiced, made a real and genuine apology and then did the hard work of repentance and amends. It would really make the arc of this day work. And that story doesn't exist as far as I can tell, you guys. Maybe you'll tell me, but I did some searching. And the only stories I could find were stories of people not on the same fame level, at least, as the people I've named already, who are causing harm, who have caused harm. I I remember at the height of the Me Too movement, when it felt like the bad actions of powerful men in entertainment were being shared too quickly to even read all of the names. Do you all remember that season? It was wild. I kept thinking, maybe this one will be the one to make a true apology and make real amends. There were a few I really hoped would do it, given how decent their public personas were and how much I liked what they'd created. And it's been 8 years. So no one is beyond redemption, but they've also had some time. So if they wanted to make real and public amends, they could have done it by now. And maybe they'll still do it. But the people who were publicly named in that season for hurting others haven't yet done their work. They can still rewrite the end. And I hope they do. So this leaves us with the complicated, contradictory reality of what it is to try to live in reality, with integrity in this world where people create beauty and people do bad things, and sometimes it is the same person doing both. So we trust our guts, and we pay attention to our money and our influence and our power. We know that we can't possibly be morally pure all of the time, and that no one is defined by the worst thing they've ever done, and that joy is precious, and we should hold fast to it where we find it, and not ruin other people's joy without careful thought. Where do you draw the line? Somewhere. We draw it somewhere. You and I may draw it in different places, but we need to draw it, each of us, for ourselves. So may it be so. May we make it so, and amen.
If everybody would please rise in body or spirit, we'll sing our final rock song. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. With
4 days into a new year, and this one does not seem any easier than the last. And when the world is hard and heartbreaking, it does make it more clear how we are called to act with love and care, creating a world, or at least a small corner of the world, of peace and justice and joy. So let us go and be about this important work. Let us go in peace and go in love.